Welcome back, everybody. My name is Dragagon, and this is Gregtech New Horizons. So I've been doing a little bit of work around the base. It's taken quite a bit of time. What I have done is I basically tripled the amount of rails I have so that I could get a little bit bigger of a tree farm going here because the small little bit that I had was not able to keep up with 12 of the coke furnaces. So I was starting to run low on my compressed charcoal. So I did that. The next thing I did was I went ahead and I rebuilt my EBF. You can see it right back here. Let me turn that down real quick. Music and sounds, blocks. Let's drop this down to like that. There we go. So I put my EBF back up. I've been slowly making more steel. And then I brought you in here because I wanted to go ahead and knock out my first MV machine hull. Oh, yeah, there it is, MV machine hull, so that I could unlock this gigantic mess here. So there is a couple of things that I have been told I want to focus on first before I tackle other things. I believe the big one is, if it's not the MV electrolyzer, it would be there's a couple of other things that I need to look at. But anyway, with the MV machine hull complete, Tier 2 loot bag, couple of coins, okay, no big deal there. One of the other things that I've been doing, I've been working on the magnolium. I finished up the meteorite, the cadmium battery, the sulfuric acid. I got all of the fuels done, but I have not done the sulfuric gas or the lubricant as of yet. So those are on my list to tackle. But I did end up making the miner, and I've been placing the miner down in a couple of spots in order to gather in more materials. Namely, I've been working a lot with the limonite. I have the my limonite marker here, so I put it to the center of the chunk and let it drill down and dig up basically all the limonite within an 8x8 radius around it. So I'll probably drop it nearby again, but I had to move it over to the this tin garnet down here. I actually have the miner right here right now because I was running low on tin and needed some more tin. My focus right now, though, is going to be heavily on trying to get the limonite so that I can centrifuge it down, get the oxygen, take the iron that it gives you, and make a bunch of steel. The reason for that is the EBF chews up a lot of power, and having two battery buffers running off of just these three LV what are they, LV turbines, doesn't cut it for power. So I'm looking at making 4 of the diesel generators so that I can run off of the creosote that I've been building up, that I've had to break and reset multiple times. I would really like to start being able to burn that and use that in order to power my EBF so that I can have more of a consistent cycle of right now, the iron and the steel production. So that's my next goal, is to get that up and running. Now that I've unlocked MV, I want to start getting some of these quests knocked out and start working on the things that I'll need in the MV age so that I can start getting there. I've also been looking at starting into the bee breeding, mainly because I believe I have the one thing that I need for that. Let's see here. I have to make the apiary in order to do the bees, and the apiary wants seed oil in the carpenter, as well as a bee house, and then these other miscellaneous parts. The impregnated frame is again another seed oil in the carpenter, with these creosote blocks. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to do creosote wood blocks. which is the carpenter with creosote. So I have a few things that I've got to get up and running in order to get apiaries up, but hopefully I can get that done quickly so that I can get into a little bit of the bee stuff. Otherwise, novice thaumatage, I've been doing several of those quests, just trying to get the initial things done here. Mainly it's down to the research table, having enough aspects in there and figuring out what order they go in order to unlock the thing, and then once I've unlocked it, then going in. So if I run up here real quick, you'll see my little chest of papers, and here's all the things that I'm wanting to work on. So I'm slowly working on those as well. Yeah, so I'll bring you back once there's some more interesting stuff going on. I am back, and unfortunately I went and made the item before I started recording. I went and made the advanced electrolyzer. If you take a look at the quest for MV, they give you a few machines that you want to make right off the bat with the MV machine hull. One of them being the electrolyzer, another one being the extruder, and then there's a third one down here for the fluid solidifier. The order that was recommended to me was to do the electrolyzer first so that you can start electrolyzing, and then do the extruder, and then later on you can do the fluid solidifier. The MV steam turbine you can go ahead and make. I'm not sure that I'm going to make that yet. Instead, what I want to do is I want to do this one right here, the low voltage transformer, and basically be able to take this line that I've got running right here right now, which has a 4 battery buffer attached to it, and convert that into 1 MV, and then I can stick my extruder, or sorry, not my extruder, my electrolyzer onto that, and I can start electrolyzing, because if I look in this chest here, I've got several things that I can't electrolyze right now. Fuller's Earth is one of them. I've got a couple of piles over here. Lepidite I can't do. Yeah, I've got a few piles of stuff everywhere that I am trying to get to where I can turn those dusts into something more usable. So yeah, I am going to see if I can make this transformer and get my MV electrolyzer right here up and running so that I can start electrolyzing down some of these dusts and start getting them into a more useful setup. And we're back, and I've decided on what path I feel like I should be taking right now. One of the first things I want to make is the low voltage battery buffer. That is one of the quests in the quest book. It's all the way down here, and is the quest before you actually unlock the arc furnace. Now, the arc furnace is really good for making wrought iron. Wrought iron right now, at least if you end up doing the things that I do, you end up having to use the alloy smelter to make a bunch of nuggets, then burn it in the furnace, and then stick it in the compressor, and it's a really long pain in the rear. When instead, if you look up the wrought iron, I should have done this a long time ago, the wrought iron ingots can actually be made in the arc furnace, and I forget how far along down here they are. It's not terribly far, I don't think. But there is a quest, or not a quest, rather. There is a, there it is, a recipe using iron dust and only 56 millibuckets of oxygen in order to make a wrought iron ingot. Now, the nice thing about the wrought iron ingot is that you should be able to then take that and do with it what you need to. At one point there was a quest for the wrought iron to steel, or rather there is a quest for it. What you have to do is you first have to pulverize it into the wrought iron dust, and then from there, if we take a look at the blast furnace, or the configuration 11, it still takes you the 1,000 liters, or the 1 bucket of oxygen, just like it would going from iron to steel. But if you notice the time it takes to actually make this item, it takes you, it only takes 12,000 EU and 5 seconds, as opposed to the other amount of time, which is, if we go with the iron dust, and we take a look at that, it may not be in here this way. We may have to look at the, yeah, have to right click it first. If we take a look in the blast furnace, you'll see that the full thing, even though it takes that 1,000, it costs you 60,000 in power and takes you 25 seconds. So if you're willing to go through the extra little bit of a step of going through the arc furnace before you go through the blast furnace, you're going to be saving quite a bit of power. The 7,000 it takes to make the wrought iron, and then the 12,000 it takes to go from wrought iron to steel is quite a bit cheaper than the 60,000 that you need to go straight from iron to the steel. In addition to that, it also takes quite a bit less time. I want to say overall it takes 10 seconds instead of 25. It is a little bit more micromanagey. You'd have to put it in the arc furnace first, and then if you have it set up right, you could have it export into the input buffer for the blast furnace, and then it could do it. But it is an extra step, but it does save you quite a bit of power if you end up doing that. The other thing that I am currently working on, I am converting I'm converting my aluminum dust over to aluminum, trying to get 9 aluminum, because I have everything else I need here in order to complete that other quest that I had up just a moment ago, which is my MV extruder, so that I can just start extruding things. So I have everything else. I'm just waiting on the MV machine hull. And so what I ended up doing earlier is I ended up creating a full stack of electronic circuits. I put enough glue into my assembler in order to make a ton of resistors and another ton of the boards that you need for it. And then I ended up having enough glue left over that I was able to make several of the next board up. This, what is this? The phenolic circuit boards, so that I can use those. And then I don't know that I covered it earlier, but I did end up making a circuit assembler. And so I've been able to make the good circuits in there. The nice thing about doing circuits in the circuit assembler is that the good circuits here, these guys, instead of taking 3 of these plus this extra steel casing, you can do it in the circuit assembler for some lead, tin, or soldering alloy, and then it only costs you 2 of those circuits, no steel, and everything else is pretty much the same. So it is nice to have that circuit assembler done, so that I could make those good circuits a little bit cheaper, especially at the cost of those LV circuits, which are still pretty pricey to make. I don't have an MV fluid extractor, and so I can't get the best ratio on the not the diodes, the vacuum tubes yet. And since I don't have an MV assembler, I cannot make the SMD resistors or vacuum tubes. If we take a look again at the good circuits there, these, oops, not those guys, but these electronic circuits, the vacuum tubes, really expensive that way. The redstone alloy is nice and cheap, but I can do even, or sorry, the redstone alloy is the one that I can't make yet without that fluid extractor, because the fluid extractor requires 36 EU. And then in addition to that, yeah, it's just, I haven't reached those spots yet, so that's what I am working towards. One of the things I want to do that I am currently trying to save up the steel for is I want to make the boiler here because this boiler, he runs enough to do about 2.25 of the steam turbines, so my steam eventually runs out. I'd like to put up the LV one, which will give me up to 4.5 steam turbines, and then the liquid firebox one. And then if I build another 12 coke ovens and put the 2 rows over here and the 1 row over here, build up enough of the pumps and the conveyors, I can actually double these guys into their 36 low pressure boiler tanks and end up being able to power 9 of the steam turbines. So I'm actually looking to do something like that because I know it does run well that way, and so that is one of the goals that I have. Unfortunately, it does take quite a bit of steel, especially for those 9 liquid fueled fireboxes, but I am hoping by having this extruder it will make it a little bit cheaper for me so that I can actually work with that a little bit better. So yeah, I will join you all back here after I have a little bit more accomplished. All right, here we go. Over back here on this table, I happen to have everything I need to make my MV machine hull, and then I can take that over here and I can make my advanced extruder. Haha, fantastic. So the next thing to look at doing for the time being, since I can really only run one or the other at a time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and wrench up my whatever that guy's called, my electrolyzer. I'm going to go ahead and put that facing out this way, and that way I can take this copper cable here, and I'm going to need my... I died not too long ago. It was right over here. I was going to replace the battery in my miner, which is currently mining up oil sands, and there was a flaming zombie there, and I didn't notice that he had one up, and yeah, he killed me. Not my brightest day. There's my wire cutters, and then so I'm going to put the advanced extruder on top. I can put my electrolyzer on. I'm going to put the electrolyzer actually right here, and then I will go ahead and connect up all 3 of the wires. There we go. And that way now I have access to my advanced extruder, which is good, especially for steel, and my electrolyzer, and then it's already got it exporting to the back, so I'll just go ahead and mark the fluid export so that when oxygen and stuff pumps out, it'll go back to that little tank there. All right, so that is the extruder. I had done all of these shapes earlier. You notice there is a bunch of them. There is essentially 18 of them. All 18 of mine are right down here. The ones that I consider the most important out of this mess, at least right now, is the rotor, the gear, and the small gear. Those 3 guys alone, this will save a whole lot of time and headache, because with the small gear you don't have to make 2 rods plus the gear. With the large gear you don't have to make the 4 plates and 4 rods and then get them to go together. And with the rotor you don't have to make the ring, the 4 plates, and the screw. So all of those things will be very nice to have in the extruder. I may even yank up one of these 2 chests and bring it over here and, I don't know, stick it in the wall. I'm going to be expanding this floor. I just haven't done it yet. I probably could, since I'm just standing around doing nothing anyway. But one of the things I want to do is expand this floor out. And I'm looking at making some of the generators so that I don't have to deal with this giant wall of machines and I can start spreading them out. I would like to make the combustion generators, since one of the quests does have you make fuel. I've got plenty of fuel down here, that I can make use of, specifically these three, the naphtha, the light fuel, and the heavy fuel. I've got plenty of hydrogen, so I can make some more using my distillery, but effectively I'm trying to, I don't know, kind of spread out on the base. I want to have, like I said before, I want to get the two railcraft boilers up and running because they don't cause pollution, and that would allow me to run 9 of these basic steam turbines, and those I can run several machines from, but I would also like to be able to spread out among the floor. I want to make a second assembling machine. I want to make a couple more of the these guys right here, the fluid extractors. I may wait on one of them. I may make one second one, but then wait on a third one, because the third one I want to be MV so I can start getting into the ability to make those vacuum tubes a little bit cheaper with the redstone alloy instead of the red alloy ingots. But yeah, I'm looking to try and spread out, kind of double up on a few machines which I deem necessary. I'd like to make a thirsty tank so that I can set the macerator, ore washer, hammer, centrifuge, or I may even swap out the hammer for the thermal centrifuge, which is hiding right back here. One of those kind of things. But basically I want to get my ore processing line its own nice little setup so that I can run through and just go, okay, I'm going to make these ores, and with the thirsty tank I don't have to rely on the water that is currently supplying my my boilers. And just basically trying to make it so that I have several machines out all over the place that I can get the job done. Some of these machines I don't need a bunch of stuff for, but it's definitely helpful to be this far along. But I do need to double up on a couple of machines just to make it easier on me, especially the raw, what is it, the raw rubber? What is this thing? Refined glue, that's the one, because the refined glue is a pain in the rear. It comes in 1,000 units and doesn't play nice with trying to make the phenolic boards and the regular boards. It would just generally be more beneficial to me as its own dedicated assembling machine, and have a second one that can handle tin and redstone, stuff like that. So yeah, I'm going to check the time and see how much time we have left. I'm pretty close to being done with this episode, I think, but we'll see. I may be back for a little bit more before this one's done.